My daughter Lily's 8th birthday was supposed to be the night she finally felt like the most important girl in the world. I had spent 3 months on a waitlist to book the private dining room at Canoe, one of the most celebrated restaurants in downtown Toronto. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. Custom tasting menu. A tiny personalized cake from the pastry chef with Lily's name piped in gold. She had been talking about it since January, counting down on the little chalkboard calendar she keeps beside her bed. Instead, it became the night my sister-in-law stared across that white linen table, smiled at me like I was a service worker, and said, "Just put it all on one bill, obviously. That's what family does." I kept my face perfectly still. My hands stayed flat on the table. I looked at the 3 women she had brought without telling me, the untouched glasses of Veuve Clicquot already poured. Lily's birthday chair pulled back so my sister-in-law could sit closer to the window for better lighting. Then I excused myself to find the washroom, and walked straight to the maitre d' to begin the most satisfying dinner I have ever arranged in my life. I am a residential mortgage broker. I spend my days reading fine print, tracking numbers down to the decimal, and making sure people do not sign agreements they do not understand. When a first-time buyer is being pressured into terms that will quietly bankrupt them, I catch it. I have spent 7 years protecting strangers from exactly the kind of financial manipulation that my sister-in-law had been running on me for the past 4 years without consequence. Her name is my sister-in-law, and she is 2 years older than me and approximately 15 years more expensive. She lives in a renovated Victorian semi in Leslieville that she absolutely cannot afford. Her Instagram is immaculate. Brunches at Café Boulud, weekend trips to Mont Tremblant, a wardrobe that suggests a salary she has never actually earned. Behind the curated feed is a different story entirely. 2 maxed-out credit cards at the legal limit. A line of credit she rolled into a second line of credit. And my husband's deep, exhausting guilt about being the sibling who made it, which she had been cashing in on steadily since our wedding. 18 months before Lily's birthday, my sister-in-law called my husband in tears. Her condo maintenance fees had gone into collections. She needed $4,000, or they were taking her to the landlord and tenant board. My husband looked at me with that expression I had come to recognize, the one that was half apology and half plea, and I said yes, because I loved him, because I believed it was a one-time emergency, because I told myself that family means something. She paid us back $300. Then she posted a series of stories from a private villa in Tulum. When I brought it up, my mother-in-law patted my hand and told me I needed to be more generous in spirit. My father-in-law changed the subject. My husband asked me to let it go for the sake of keeping the peace. I let it go. I let it go so many times that eventually my silence started to feel like an answer she could count on. What I did not fully understand until much later is that she had never actually needed rescuing. She had needed an audience, and I had been the most reliable one she had. The birthday dinner had been on the family group chat for 6 weeks. I had been very clear. Private room at Canoe. My husband, my daughter, my parents, and my 2 closest friends. 8 people total, which was the capacity of the room. I had put down a non-refundable deposit of $400 to hold it. I had confirmed the guest list in writing. She responded to the message with a heart emoji, and nothing else. She arrived 22 minutes late with 3 women I had never met. One of them was holding a ring light. One of them was already filming a vertical video of the restaurant entrance. My sister-in-law walked in wearing a blazer I recognized from a fashion campaign, and greeted the table like she was hosting it. She air-kissed my parents. She ruffled Lily's hair without making eye contact. She introduced her friends as the girls and began rearranging the seating so they could access the window view from the right angle. "We'll need 3 more chairs," she told the server before anyone had even opened a menu. I watched my daughter slide quietly to the end of the table, away from the candle arrangement we had placed at the birthday seat, away from the small crown the restaurant had set out for her. Lily did not say anything. She picked up her menu and studied it with the focused expression she uses when she is trying not to cry. That was the moment something shifted in me. Not loudly, quietly, like a lock turning over. My mother-in-law appeared at my elbow. She had that particular tightness around her eyes that I had learned meant she was about to ask me to absorb something unreasonable. She didn't realize the room had a limit, she whispered. She just wanted to be included. "You know how she gets when she feels left out. Just be gracious about it. Let the restaurant accommodate them, and we can sort out the bill at the end. It's Lily's birthday. Don't make it a whole thing." I looked at her for a long moment. $4,000, 300 back, Tulum, the heart emoji, the ring light. Lily at the end of the table, reading the menu by herself on her 8th birthday. "I won't make it a whole thing," I said. "I promise." I asked the server if I could speak with the manager. His name was Daniel, and I had actually spoken with him twice before during the booking process. I told him clearly, and without drama, that the 3 additional guests were walk-ins, that they were not part of my reservation, and that I needed them on a completely separate bill. No shared tab, no combined totals at the end. Their food, their drinks, their gratuity, entirely separate. I also told him that if my sister-in-law or anyone at that end of the table attempted to order anything and gesture toward me as the paying party, I needed him to redirect them immediately. Daniel nodded. He had the practiced composure of someone who had managed a lot of family dinners. Understood completely, he said. We'll take care of it. I went back to the table. I moved Lily's birthday crown back to the seat beside mine. I helped her into it. The pastry team had brought out a small arrangement of macarons with a sparkler, and my daughter's face did exactly what I had spent 3 months hoping it would do. She lit up completely. My sister-in-law had not noticed any of this. She was describing the wine menu to her friends in a voice pitched for the whole room. She ordered a bottle of Burgundy without asking anyone. She asked the server about the tasting menu supplement, the one with the supplemental truffle course, and said, "We'll do that for the whole table. My sister-in-law's treating. It's her daughter's birthday and she loves to celebrate properly." Her friend with the ring light positioned it on the windowsill. I said nothing. I ate my appetizer. I watched Lily show my mother the macarons. I let the clock run. At 9:45, the server brought 2 leather folders to the table. One was placed in front of me. One was placed in front of my sister-in-law. She looked at the second folder, the way you look at something that has appeared in a place it has no business being. "There's been a mix-up," she said, not touching it. She waved toward the server, with the loose authority of someone who had never actually paid for anything. "This should all be on one bill. She's covering it." "I'm sorry," Daniel said from just behind her left shoulder, because he had been waiting. The reservation and the walk-in party were billed separately from the start of service this evening. "The charges are correct." My sister-in-law turned and looked at me directly for the first time all night. "What did you do?" she said. "I was helping Lily practice blowing out the candle on her mini cake." I looked up. "I separated the checks," I said. "Enjoy the Burgundy." She opened the folder. I did not see the total from where I was sitting, but I saw her face. The color left it in a single, clean motion. The truffle supplement runs $40 per person. The Burgundy she had ordered was $160. The additional appetizers her friends had ordered before they even looked at the menu had accumulated quietly over the course of the evening. She pulled her card from her wallet with the particular deliberateness of someone performing confidence they do not feel. She handed it to the server. She resumed a conversation with the woman to her left about some brand trip to Banff. The server returned a few minutes later, leaned down, said something close to her ear. She said, "Sorry, what?" He showed her the small terminal. Declined. The table went quiet in that section. Just briefly. The ring light was still on. She produced a second card from the inner pocket of her blazer. Her voice stayed even. "Try this one." He tried it. He returned again. The look on his face was professionally neutral and unmistakable. Declined. Her friend with the million-follower account had stopped looking at her phone. She was watching now. The way you watch something you plan to talk about later. My sister-in-law dug to the very back of her wallet. She put a third card on the server's tray. She did not look at anyone at the table while she did it. I was pouring more apple juice for Lily. I kept my eyes on the glass. The third card came back declined. The friend with the ring light picked up her jacket from the back of her chair. "I actually have to be somewhere," she said. To no one in particular. She found some cash in her bag, left what I could only assume was a fraction of her portion, and left without saying goodbye. The second friend followed within 2 minutes, pulling on her coat in the aisle. The third lingered long enough to say, "I didn't realize this was the situation," and then she was gone too. My sister-in-law was sitting at her end of the table with an open leather folder, 3 declined cards, and the specific expression of someone watching a version of themselves they had carefully constructed for years simply stop working. She looked at me. "You planned this." "I separated the checks," I said again. "That's all." Daniel returned to her end of the table with a calm that I will genuinely admire for the rest of my life. He explained that in situations like this, the restaurant keeps a record of identification and contact information, and arranges for payment within 24 hours. It is a standard process, clearly outlined in their reservation policy. He placed a small form in front of her. She had to provide her contact details and a written acknowledgement of the outstanding balance before she could leave. She signed it. She did not speak to me again. She walked out without looking at Lily. My daughter watched her go, then looked up at me. "Can I have another macaron?" "You can have 2, I said. I genuinely believed it was over. I thought the humiliation of the declined cards, the friends leaving, the form she had to sign, I thought that would be enough. I thought reality had finally made its point clearly enough that even she could not argue with it. I underestimated how far someone will go when their self-image is the only thing they've ever actually invested in. The next morning was a Saturday. My husband had taken Lily to her swimming lesson. I was home alone with my coffee, and the quiet I had been looking forward to since March. At 8:50 in the morning, my phone showed motion on the backdoor camera. I had installed the system 2 years earlier after a string of package thefts in our neighborhood. I picked up my phone and looked at the screen. My sister-in-law was at the back gate with a key. Not just a key, I recognized it. It was the spare we had given to my in-laws years ago in case of emergencies, when my mother-in-law used to pick up Lily from school. I had forgotten entirely that a copy existed. I watched her let herself through the gate. I watched her try the back door handle. Then I watched her look at the keypad deadbolt I had installed 6 weeks earlier after a locksmith friend recommended upgrading our entry points. She stood there for a moment. Then she started looking at the window beside the door. I opened the two-way audio on my phone. "I can see you," I said. She froze. "The camera is recording with a timestamp," I said. "I want you to take a breath and think very carefully about what you're doing." There was a long silence. Then, "I just need to talk to you. I need help. You don't understand what it's like right now. You just quietly destroyed my night in front of people and you don't even care what it cost me. You have no idea what's at stake for me." I stayed very calm. "You came to my daughter's birthday dinner, uninvited with 3 people, and ordered food and wine for the whole table, on the assumption I would pay. When I didn't, your friends left, and you had to sign a debt form in a restaurant. I didn't destroy anything. You brought those people to Lily's birthday. I just declined to fund the performance. I need that money, Claire." She had started to cry. "I need it. I know you have the emergency account. I know you keep cash in the office. Just this once, I will pay every cent back. I swear to you. I'm asking you as family. Go home," I said. "Please. I'm asking you to leave my property." She didn't leave. She stayed at that back door for another 9 minutes. She said things I am not going to repeat here, because they belong in the past, and I have decided the past does not get to live in my chest anymore. At the 58-minute mark from her arrival, a patrol car pulled up in front of the house. A neighbor had heard her voice through the fence and called it in, or possibly the security system had triggered an alert. I'm honestly not sure which came first. The officers were patient with her. She tried to explain that we were family. One of them, gently but very clearly, told her that the homeowner had asked her to leave, and that remaining on the property after that constituted trespassing under the Trespass to Property Act. She left with the officers walking behind her to the street. She did not make it to the restaurant's 24-hour window to settle her balance. Whether that was deliberate or a consequence of the morning, I don't know. Daniel filed the account for collections and reported it to his manager. Given the circumstances, and given that my name is on that restaurant as a long-standing corporate client through my brokerage, the matter was handled with complete seriousness. My husband and I had the longest conversation we'd had in probably 2 years. He was quiet for most of it. He listened to everything. He pulled up the bank records of what had moved in the direction of his sister over the past 4 years, and he sat with those numbers for a while without speaking. Then he called his parents and told them, without drama, and without blame, exactly what had happened. Both nights, all of it. His mother cried. His father said, "We didn't know it had gone this far." My husband said, "It's been going this far for a long time. We all let it. The collections process, the trespassing incident, the restaurant account, it moved through the system the way these things do. There were consequences of the practical, administrative variety that I won't detail because they're hers to carry, not mine to catalog. What I will say is that the architecture of a life built on other people's silence is a great deal less stable than it appears from the outside. My in-laws, for the first time in the 4 years I had known them, stopped making excuses. Not loudly, not with any grand announcement. They simply stopped. My mother-in-law called me 3 weeks later and said, "I owe you an apology that I should have given you a long time ago." It was a short call. She didn't oversell it. I respected her for that. About 2 months later, I received a message. It was long. It talked about how difficult her life had become, about circumstances being stacked against her, about how people she trusted had let her down. At the very end, it said that she forgave me for embarrassing her in front of her friends, and that she hoped we could find a way back to being family because that's what matters at the end of the day. I read it once. I thought about whether there was anything in it that required a response. I closed the app and took Lily to the park. Our home is different now. It is lighter in a way. I did not know it was heavy until the weight was gone. We had my parents over for Thanksgiving. We had our neighbors over for the hockey playoffs. Nobody performed anything. Nobody needed anything that wasn't freely and happily given. Lily ran in and out of the kitchen stealing appetizers and making everyone laugh, and I sat at my own table feeling something I can only describe as the absolute luxury of a Sunday that belongs to you. Here's what I want to say to you, because I know exactly where you are right now. You are wondering why it took me so long, why I paid the first $4,000. Why I didn't confront her the moment she walked into that restaurant with 3 uninvited guests and a ring light. You were sitting there thinking that you would have drawn the line much earlier, and maybe you would have. I genuinely hope you would have. But I also think a lot of you know the pull of wanting to keep the peace in the family you married into. I think a lot of you know what it costs to be the one who causes a scene, who is labeled difficult, who is told that generosity of spirit is a character quality and an implied obligation simultaneously. It is exhausting to hold a boundary when every person around you treats it as a personal attack. After long enough, it starts to feel like the boundary itself is the problem. Behavioral research has a name for what keeps people in these cycles. When someone treats you badly consistently but rewards you occasionally a good holiday, a genuine moment of warmth, a spell where things feel almost normal. Your brain responds to that unpredictability. The same way it responds to any variable reward system. You keep hoping the good version is the real version. You keep waiting for the slot machine to pay out. You are not foolish. You are not weak. You are responding the way humans respond to intermittent reinforcement, which is one of the most adhesive psychological patterns that exists. The way out is not a screaming match. It is not a confrontation. It is a separate check. It is a locked door. It is a single, quiet decision to stop being available for a performance you were never actually cast in. 3 things I know now that I wish I had known earlier. The word family is not a financial instrument. It is not a line of credit. When someone uses it specifically in the context of asking you to absorb costs or ignore harm, you are allowed to notice that and adjust accordingly. A boundary with no follow-through is not a boundary. It is a suggestion that has been declined. The moment you show someone that the limit has a soft edge, they will find it every time. The limit has to mean what it says. The most powerful thing you can do is stay boring. No yelling. No lengthy explanation. No dramatic declaration. Just logistics, calmly executed, in writing where possible. With a manager who understands exactly what is happening. People who depend on your silence also depend on your reaction. When you give them neither, there is nothing left to work with. The $4,000 we did not spend on that dinner is sitting in Lily's resp. By the time she's ready for university, it will have been there long enough to matter. I did not plan it that way. But I think she will understand, when she is old enough, that the best thing I ever did for her education was refuse to pay for someone else's Burgundy. If any part of this lives in your chest right now, if you are carrying someone else's financial chaos because the alternative felt like it would cost too much, I want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments. Tell me where you drew your line. Or tell me you're still working up to it. Either one is worth saying out loud. And if watching someone finally, cleanly, separate the checks gave you even a fraction of the peace it gave me, you know where the subscribe button is. I'm not going anywhere.